Thank you so much for speaking with me. This show is absolutely incredible. And one of the things that I was wondering as I was watching through season two was for you, Isaac. I know that you're now a lawyer and that you're able to, you're helping other people now. But with this show, I was wondering, going through the different, I know it's fictional, but the different stories and the lives that we're able to witness, is there any type of catharticism that you find when you're watching the show?
I mean, the simple answer to that is yes.
Mhm.
But there's so many different. I guess when I dig deep down inside, there's so many different feelings that I get when I'm watching the show.
Mhm.
I get pissed off. I get happy. I get emotional. It's a whirlwind of emotions because, as I was explaining in an earlier question, what happens is that I get a therapeutic. There's a therapeutic element in it, but also it brings me back.
Right.
It takes me back to the prison yard during a riot. That I experienced. It takes me back to a medical unit where guards have almost beaten an inmate to death. It takes me back to a medical unit or a psych unit where a guy, that I just spoke to 2 weeks ago is now spreading feces all over his body. And so, yes. The simple answer to that question is yes. The complex answer to that question is that it has me all over the place emotionally.
Right. Now, for you, Hank, you are the creator of this wonderful show. I was wondering, this is not your standard procedural drama at all. Instead, it dives deep into social justice and activism, especially with season two. I was wondering, what was the important elements you use? I know this is like 6 months that you have from like between the filming and what's going on. What was it that was really important? There's a lot of things that's going on in the world right now that you wanted to tackle.
Thank you. Well, the show was set up in its DNA, obviously inspired by Isaac's experiences, to tackle the social injustices, the racial inequalities, the problems in the system. And so coming into season two, the idea was Aaron was going to get out of prison and start to make his way in the world and find his footing as a social justice warrior. And then, so in the first half of the season, he takes on a medical racism case. He takes on another case where, an undocumented, Latinx woman, is arrested for a very minor crime, and now she might get deported for it. And it turns out it's all, hinged on a corrupt police practice of arresting people in certain ways. And then, of course, the second half of the season is sort of an explosion of the two major issues that happened, this year, which is, COVID, and then the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests and movement. And Aaron, his character is going to get completely pulled into those things that are so, they're the issues of our time. They're the issues of our day. They're what we're dealing with. And now it's what his character's dealing with in his own unique way. So it was it was a confluence of events. We felt the responsibility to deal with them. There's no way you couldn't hide from them. We had to. And then because we had to deal with them in such a head-on way, because they would affect his character so specifically, there was this responsibility to just make sure we got it right. And, it's a piece of fiction, but, hopefully we're addressing the issues in a package of an entertainment engine. It makes people want to lean forward and root and hope and cry and feel and engage. And then they come out of it, feeling like they learned a little bit, and maybe, they have some questions about how they can, bring forward whatever they learned or whatever they felt into their lives and into the larger awareness of the things in our country that still need to get fixed.
Right. Now, for both of you, can you talk a little bit about the importance of this show and the fact that it showcases the DAs as being heroes, the everyday people who maybe get caught up in the system as heroes? Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that?
The public defenders, you mean?
Yes, public defenders. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yes, I mean, most shows have for decades now put the prosecutors and the police as the protagonists and the heroes. Occasionally you have a law firm show where they defend, a swath of people, but by and large, law enforcement have been the heroes. And now we've, completely flipped it, where it's the public defenders, the defense attorneys, the inmates and the prisoners are the ones that are getting the screen time and showing the humanity of their side of the story and showing the ugly underbelly of what's happened with kind of unfettered and unmonitored law enforcement with no real oversight for so many years, and how that affects real people, real families, and what it's done to our society. So, it's a real flip.
And I think just to expound on that, I think it's important for the public to understand, why the essence of what defense attorneys do, and why the essence of what goes on with people who are caught in the system, guilty or innocent, is a heroic event. And the way I can explain it, where it makes it very, very simple. If you look at one of the phrases, law enforcement phrases, that is really the fabric of our culture, it's you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say it could and will be used against you. We all know that phrase. Okay, that phrase gives people, especially innocent people, certain rights. The reason why that phrase even came about was because of some defense attorney decades ago that fought against an injustice and created a law to protect the innocent. And so we got to understand where the real heroes are. It's not a shade on law enforcement. It's not a shade on prosecutors. But what happens is, when these people do their jobs and they're unchecked, injustice occurs. And so you have these defense attorneys that are out there making these laws to protect us. Take a person that's innocent. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't have to go to, take a person that's guilty.
Right.
Guilty people, and this is very, very important. Guilty people are at the front lines of injustice. It's easy for a cop to create criminal acts against a guilty person than it is for an innocent person. But the reason why you defend a person that's guilty, the reason why you do everything that you possibly can to protect his rights, is because that's the only way to protect the innocent. At some point, when a law enforcement officer decides that he's going to plant drugs on a person that he knows is a criminal in another respect, ultimately, he's going to do that to a person that's innocent. So you catch it at the front lines. You defend the person at the front lines, not necessarily because you want to get this person off. You defend a guilty person at the front lines because you're protecting the people the innocent people who has not been caught up in that scenario yet. And so that's why these people are heroes. That's why the defense attorney is a hero. That's why these people that are caught in the system and move through the system as heroes, because they make the laws, their plights ultimately make the laws that protect the innocent.
Thank you so much for speaking with me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.